Hey everyone, it's your girl Tonya Lady T, and I wanted to drop in today and just talk about nuggets of knowledge. Something that I learned last night, and I thought, wow, this is something to do a video and share. It's about your health. I happen to be watching a documentary on Netflix, and it's called Bleeding Edge. Y'all need to check it out. I think everybody needs to just check it out. It's about 1 hour and 30 minutes. But what it's talking about is talking about the FDA. Of course, the FDA is responsible for approving, monitoring any type of medical device that touches or enters the human body. And amongst other things. But the FDA, you know, they are over that type of, when people want, you know, when businesses or companies want to get patents, they want to be able to use a particular device medically on a human being. You know, they have to go through case studies and everything like that. Anyway, I don't want to get mired up in the details of that because, like I said, the video on Netflix will speak for itself, and I just beckon you all to really look at it. And the reason why I was intrigued about this documentary is because, of course, I've shared with y'all, my mother has you know, metal in her back, and she has had a knee replacement. So they were just talking about how some people that get certain devices put in their bodies, you know, different companies have different things that they solicit surgeons, solicit hospitals, solicit doctors. Hey, use my product, almost like the pharmaceuticals. You know, that's why doctors are able to give us samples. You know, because you've got drug companies that bombard clinics, that bombard private practices, that bombard hospitals to get that business. Hey, use our product, use our pills, use our, and that's just the way it works. I mean, you know, I think they said in the documentary that the medical equipment business is a $300 billion business. I mean, something that it might have just cost $20 to make, but they pass it, that cost on to us, and we have to pay $2,000 for that what they only paid for cost at $20. So anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is whenever you're having a surgery, and I never thought about that, and I've had stuff taken out of my body, but I just haven't had anything put in, meaning a, you know, a device that assists me or aids me to live. So the interesting part about what they were saying was that, you know, as patients, and I've said this before on my platform, you know, we're co-laborers with our doctors and our health professionals. We also have to be a co-laborer, and we have to be, when we go into the doctor's office, ask questions. I know a lot of times we leave it up to the doctor for this and that because they are the experts, if you will. But, you know, that's why they say they practice medicine. And, you know, you have a trust, a built-in trust in doctors or hospitals, because this is what they're doing. But it's amazing some of the products that are being used and installed in our bodies. Some of them haven't even gone through the FDA rigorous approval process. And how I was found out about this, again, watching the video, I thought, oh my God, are you kidding me? Well, if there's an existing product that has already been FDA approved, and let's say company X comes into the FDA and say, hey, I want to get this product approved, and the FDA looks at it and they say, you know, well, okay, you have to go through this testing. Well, what was happening was, instead of making that device go through all those major testing, if there was already an approved FDA item that was similar, listen at that, that is similar. And what they were talking about on this documentary was the hip replacement contraption that they used. Well, if 10 companies come to the FDA and want to get their device, it looks similar, it's almost the same shape, but it just might have a different design, or, you know, it might just look slightly different. If there's already one on the books that they have approved, they'll push that one through. And how they do that and how they're able to get away with doing that is there's a law on the books. It's called a regulation on the book. It's called a 510K. And what that 510K, it allows companies to go through a loophole. So you might have a product in your body that people have reported that that product is a failure, okay? Or like, for instance, y'all remember a while back those patches that they used for people who got hernias. Well, what was happening, the faulty part of that patch, it would fray. And so they would have to remove and cause excruciating pain for people. So they were having to go back in there and take that patch out and replace it, because the actual patch that was in there was either on recall or it was a bad patch. Well, that's how some of those type of contraptions, medical devices, get through and get approved, even though they didn't go through the rigorous FDA guidelines, test studies, you know, really strenuous testing that has to be done by FDA scientists in order to say, okay, we give you this seal of approval. Again, because of that 510K rule that was in place, that all these big companies lobby senators. And see, this is why I was saying, you know, I'm a geek like that. That's why you have senators who have these big business lobbyists. They donate to these campaigns. They donate to these senators. And politics has become really, really big business. Always has been. And what had happened is that, you know, they've got friends on these multi-billion-dollar companies that saying, listen, man, you know, you're holding up innovation. You're holding up us being able to put our products forth, because we got to go through all these deep regulations. And one thing they were saying on this documentary, and I knew this from, you know, especially having USDA in place, having certain consumer protections in place. The FDA is one of the most important consumer mechanisms to protect consumers. Same way with the EPA. You know, think about what the certain people in the government are trying to do. They're trying to cut back on EPA. Well, that's the air we breathe. Yeah, in any genre of business, you got somebody, you'll have a handful of people that's low down, dirty, log their hours saying they've done this and they really don't. But the CDC, you figure all these different governmental agencies, and we just go on about our day and we're saying, yeah, get rid of the education department, get rid of the EPA, get rid of all. But wait a minute, these departments exist so that companies are not polluting the air, because trust and believe, if they can circumvent a regulation, they can not have to pay certain monies for testing to make sure the water is clean. Look at what happened in Flint, Michigan. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So again, I don't want to get off in that tangent, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I say people need to get involved, you know, in this democracy and politics, because you know what? You're voting against your own interests and you don't even know it. You don't know that these big companies go to Congress, because Congress are the ones responsible for creating laws, and they create laws all year long, and we're trying to figure out, well, all of a sudden, I'm just being dramatic, my ear fell off. Well, why did your ear fall off? Well, there's a testing that we no longer had to do because they went and lobbied Congress to put this loophole in there that helps them. And I'm telling you, when you dig and you get into the details of why certain things are, and me and Mr. Simple Fox was talking about that because he had to have a patch, and he went through a lot, and this was before I knew him, but that was what happened. And I thought, oh my, because you say to yourself, how do these bad products that causes people, I'm talking about, folks lose limbs, folks lose their quality of life, and boom, when I was watching that documentary, I thought to myself, that answers this is how these type of devices get by. And you know, some of these companies like Johnson & Johnson, they make $680 billion. So it's nothing to them to have to pay out $300 million in lawsuits. And I won't say it's not nothing to them, but what I'm saying is they hold the brunt of a lot of devices and equipment that have gone through that loophole. And now here it is, you have loved ones going through. Again, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because when you're going into surgery and you have a family member, your mama, your daddy, anybody, and you've got to have a piece of equipment, medical equipment, put into your body, like whether it be a pacemaker, again, the hip replacement, knee replacement, what you have a right to ask, and people don't think about it. Now, like for instance, when my mom went through her knee replacement, we had to go to the pre-op, and part of the pre-op is they discuss, okay, here's the apparatus we're going to put in your body. This is what it's made out of, dot, 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 dot. But they don't tell you that some of these, medical equipments that they're putting in your body has cobalt in it. Well, cobalt, when it's released into your body, will cause you to have neurological problems. And that, again, is what they were discussing on this documentary. And people were starting to act crazy. People have been diagnosed with dementia. And all it was is where some of that cobalt element, it's almost like it's a metal, like mercury, so that cobalt element, and that it's gonna come to me. I know y'all shouting it out. I'm going back to school. The different Ukrainian mercury. What's all them called? Lord, y'all are screaming at the thing. I know y'all are screaming at the screen. It just escapes my mind right now. All those type of things are called. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Those elements are found in those equipment that they use. And so the doctor, a doctor on here, he actually had a, one of these contraptions in his body, and it caused him to flip out. Again, watch the documentary for those who are interested. And like I said, the reason why I'm interested, because now that I know that this could be a side effect, not saying that anything is going on with my mother, but later on in life, if I notice her attitude or her behavior or her thought process changes, then we can say we're an informed person, and we can say, you know what, let's go get her tested and see where her cobalt levels are. And that's what one of the surgeons, the orthopedic surgeon, was saying. He said, you know what, whenever I see my patients come in after a certain period of time and I see their hands start to shake like that, and they seem to be very, lost in their mind, so to speak, he says he always tests his patients for cobalt levels and how it affects the brain and all that stuff. And so anyway, I thought that was extremely interesting. And he said, this is something the CDC or the FDA should be studying. And as of when they did that documentary, they're not studying. They're just continually allowing these equipment to be put in your body. And this is, and like I said, we all know there's always a percentage of people, whether you're taking medicine, in anything, there's always a percentage that you may fall in that percentile that side effect will affect. But I'm just saying all this to say, in summary, anytime you're going to have something put in your body, ask your daughter, okay, what is it made out of? Does it contain these type metals in there that's going to cause me later down the road to go crazy? It messes with me neurologically. It causes me to have a lapse of memory, any of those type of side effects. That way you can say, okay, is there an alternative? Because there's some doctors, they don't work with other alternative, because again, they're in with that company, they get that kickback, and the kickbacks are actually very legal. It's not against the law, again, because of that loophole that Congress has put in place that protects companies in that regard. So, and of course, some companies, they do get sued, and some people come out and they are very victorious in their lawsuits. But trust and believe, they have things on the books that it's like you going up against Goliath. You really have to have your ducks in a row. You better have some long money, because when you go up against the government or some of these big businesses and you're seeking damages, oh honey, they'll have you in court and you'll pretty much go bankrupt just trying to sue them. Or a lot of law firms won't take or touch some cases because it would totally exhaust. Now, you see class action suits, sometimes you'll see different law offices, they'll band together because if they feel like they have got a good solid case, oh yeah, then they'll band together with different law firms to get that class action suit going. But they know that it's going to be some money that's going to have to be spent to fight these big giants, i.e. the government, i.e. these big pharmaceutical medical supply companies. I'm telling you, it was something to watch. And one of the other things they would discuss on there is that Essure device that women had implanted into their fallopian tubes to prevent, it sterilizes them to prevent pregnancy. And it, like I said, there was a couple of stories that just go on. And again, I'm not, I don't want people to be walking around here critical, but that documentary was interesting for me because, like I said, I have a mother that has, medical things, devices in her body. So again, it's about being aware. In other words, you don't want your mom to, or any of your loved one to be able to go and they get misdiagnosed because they get older. So they automatically ascribe, oh, she's just got dementia. She's entering into the stage of dementia, not knowing that there's cobalt levels in her body that's causing her to have neurological problems, or he or whoever. And we ain't speaking nothing in the name of Jesus, but I'm just saying I like to be informed. I like to be in the know. So if I know what to look for, then I can go from there and deal with it. But anyway, I know I've rambled, and sorry if it sounds choppy because, like I said, I just learned all this last night. And I'm not walking around here being paranoid because I've talked to my doctor. My doctor tells me, he said, Tonya, I'm a doctor that, yeah, the pharmaceutical companies now, they put all these commercials on TV, so it comes directly to you, the consumer. So when you come in here in the doctor's office, you say, hey, doctor, they got this new, why don't you put me on that? He said, I don't just do that. He said, I have to make sure that that medication fits with what you're already either taking or if it's going to be beneficial for you. I love my doctor. I've been with my same doctor for 20 years. And let me tell you, I love that man because it's like we've grown up together, because he makes sure, hey, Tonya, make sure you're looking out for any side effects. If you notice anything different, jot it down. If you see it continuously happening, jot it down. When you get your medications, look, read. He said, because I'm just telling you, this is what I think is the best medication for you. He said, but we won't know until you start taking it. And then it's up to you, again, being that co-laborer, paying attention to your body to make sure that it's being effective and serving its purpose. So, again, the nugget and the knowledge is, if you've got it, if you've got it in your body, now you got it in your body. And if anybody's out there that have noticed anything about their parents, I mean, that it wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt to say, you know what, my parent, they've been at, and I'm not saying that there's going to be diagnosis where indeed your loved one does have dementia or some of the other things. But I just think that that's a very good documentary to watch. And again, whether people are skeptical about it, here's the takeaway from this video. Whether you believe in it, because they had actual people that work for FDA talking on and speaking on this. They had actual doctors. And like I said, the takeaway is, regardless of whether you believe it or not, the takeaway is when you're going to have something being put in your body, a medical device, be a co-laborer and say, okay, doctor, tell me what and do a search on it. Because a lot of times, unless it's emergency surgery, you have some time yourself to do research before you go into surgery and say, okay, let me do a search on this device. Let me go to any blogs where people have talked about this device. And that's what happened with the woman that did the eSure. She actually started a Facebook page on eSure problems and da 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 da. And she got so much feedback. She said, oh my goodness. You know, and she even, you know, I mean, I'm just saying, just go ahead, just watch it for those of you who are interested. And again, it's on Netflix. It's called Bleeding Edge. And I'm telling you, it was just a wealth of information for you, your body, your family, your loved one. But like I said, the main takeaway I want to express to you all is if you're having to have surgery and a medical device has to be implanted in your body, ask questions. If you're able to do a search, again, unless it's an emergency, do a search on that device. Look at what kind of case studies it, because I'm telling you, a lot of times people don't do their homework because, again, we're trusting. This is the professional. This is the doctor. And we have other problems. And just like with the eSure device, I felt so bad. This one lady, her husband left her because that device caused her to bleed constantly, that she couldn't be intimate with her husband because she was always in that state. And so her husband left her, and I thought that just broke my heart because, you know, if you got a husband that you all enjoyed a sex life and you were very active, and then all of a sudden, you know, because of this medical device that you put in, because y'all decided as a husband and wife, hey, we got 4 kids, we don't want any more children, and the very device that you wanted to put in your body to give you that sexual freedom with your husband, you know, now he's left you because you can no longer please him. You can no longer satisfy him. And see that, but you know, that's a whole nother story, you know, because that's what the vows say, within sickness and in death, and to, you know, and doing sickness and in health and rich and poor and all that. So, you know, the vows. But what I'm saying is that's a whole nother topic. And then, you know, there's another lady who was married who had that device put in her, and her husband, of course, he stuck by her, but she had fragments of that stuff. They tried to take it out, and she had, when they pulled it, because it's like a coil, it left fragments. So now her body, you know, it was just something to, you know, like I said, I don't walk around paranoid. I just want to walk around informed, you know. Anyway, I jaw jack. Y'all know I jaw jack. Anyway, God bless you. And thank you for your support on these videos. Because like I said, knowledge is power. And we will perish for the lack of it. So anyway, God bless. And may the peace of the Lord be with you. Bye, y'all.